Well, every presidential candidate stumping hard across New York. No one appears to be working harder to win the Empire State than Republican John Kasich. New York ought to be fertile ground, you would think, for the Ohio governor, and it might be his last best chance to sell other Republicans on his long-shot bid for the GOP nomination. Kasich, he spent much of this weekend looking for votes in the Hudson Valley, and he talked one-on-one with Andrew. Andrew?
Well, Rich, on many levels, the Kasich campaign is something of a mystery. He's a conservative, but he's also casting himself as the adult in the room compared to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. And yet he's still a massive long shot. In poll averages, Kasich is still 31 points behind Donald Trump, though he is in second place over Ted Cruz. But the analysts at 538 give him less than a 1% chance to win New York, a state where he needs a good showing. Nationally, Kasich fares even worse. He's in third place in national polls, 18.5 points behind Trump, and is about 600 delegates behind and in fourth place, still trailing Marco Rubio, who exited the race almost a month ago. The betting markets give Kasich a 5% chance of winning the nomination, something that at this point can only happen in a convention floor fight. And yet Kasich was a bundle of energy Saturday at a town hall at Iona College. He talked up his personal story in and out of politics. We focused on the economy, and he told the crowd that every American is special and that the government's role is to send power back to the people. After the town hall, Governor Kasich and I talked one-on-one about the state of the race and how far back he is. We also talked about religious freedom laws and gun control, but we began on the governor himself as his quest for the nomination continues. Governor, you look like you're having a lot of fun at these town hall meetings at Arthur Avenue in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Are you, and are you hitting a stride here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. I mean, people are wonderful. The crowds are just building, and I just sometimes feel like I just wish I could touch everybody personally out there. But yeah, I think it's really working, and I think people leave, and they're hopeful, and they're in a good mood, and they say, yeah, we believe in America, and that's what matters to me.
You continue to offer yourself as an alternative to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, but there are going to be some voters in the Hudson Valley wondering if a vote for Kasich is wasting their vote. What would you tell them in response to that?
No, a vote for me is a vote for me, and we're going to a convention. I need all the delegates I can get, and I'm the guy that can beat Hillary, the only one that consistently beats her in the fall, and of course I'm the guy with the qualifications and the record to be president.
Any concerns if you're getting votes for being not Hillary, not Trump, not Cruz, as opposed to a vote for John Kasich?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we find great passion. I mean, today up in Rochester we had 3,000-4,000 people there. They were all passionate. No, I think that it's growing. I honestly, if I didn't think that, I wouldn't tell you that. No, I think that when people hear the message of hope, of economic recovery, of strong national defense, and they know my record, I think we get really strong people.
I want to ask you a couple questions on other issues other than the economy. Bruce Springsteen just canceled a concert in North Carolina based on their law there. You were asked in the last debate about religious freedom laws.
Look, I wouldn't sign that law, and I see no reason to be passing laws at this point because there is no problem. I think religious institutions need to be respected for what they want, but we're getting way away from that now, and now we're trying to pass laws to fix problems that people ought to be able to get along together and respect each other's differences. So I don't think that bodes well for us. And I respect what the governor of Georgia did when he vetoed the legislation.
Does that extend to private businesses as well?
No, I don't. Look, if you're in a private business and you're engaging in commerce, don't be discriminating. That's my view. Now, it can go deeper than that if they're asking you to be part of something that you don't agree, but we're getting way beyond where I think we need to be right now. Look, we have peace in the valley and respect in the valley. Let's not try to pass laws or gin this thing up where we get everybody stirred up that divides us.
One of the most divisive issues in New York right now is on guns and gun control. The governor passed one of the more sweeping gun control bills in the country. What would you do as president when it came to guns?
Well, we got to enforce the laws that we have, and number two, we got to make sure that the states are uploading the data for those that have mental illness, because there is no reason why anybody who is mentally ill ought to be able to get their hands on the guns. So that's what I would do. I would enforce the laws and make sure that we don't put guns in the hands of people who are not stable.
Final question. A mutual friend of ours, Congressman Chris Shays, we talk to him all the time. He's told me he's a little concerned about the way the party's going and whether there's a room for moderates in the GOP today. What do you say to those concerns, moderates in the GOP?
Well, look, that gets to be, most people are fiscally conservative. Sometimes they're more socially moderate. I think it's a lot about tone and a way in which we treat people and show respect. So I love Chris Shays. He supports me. I'm a conservative, but I'm a guy that's a big tent kind of guy and welcoming to people.
We'll see you at the state dinner next week, and good luck.
Thank you.
One final note from that interview. You heard Governor Kasich say he's the only Republican who beats Hillary Clinton in a general election. And current polling backs that up. Kasich has a 7-point lead over Clinton, where Trump and Cruz both trail her. But Kasich does trail Bernie Sanders, albeit by less than the other Republicans. Rich?
Andrew, he didn't run away from the moderate tag, but
He doesn't consider himself a moderate. He considers
because
himself
he's
a
not,
conservative.
right?
No, he's not. I mean, half the abortion clinics in Ohio have closed under his watch. There have been a lot of tax breaks. There have been some other issues with unions in Ohio. So he's sort of I don't want to say standard run-of-the-mill, but he fits the mold of a lot of conservative Republican governors that we've seen across the country, and he can't shy away from that, especially in the primary process. There are conservative votes to be had, more of them than there are moderate Republican votes to be had. So I think he's, along with some other Republicans we know, struggling for that big tent approach to the Republican Party. I'm not sure he has the answer to that, as you heard from the interview.
First off, yay, Iona, would that happen? But you would have thought after Ohio, he would have had some wind in his sails, and it just hasn't translated. Now, he's in second in New York, but he's also trailing by 20 points or something like that to Trump. Why hasn't whatever momentum had translated into better results?
And I would say yay to Andrew, too, because he's the only reporter there that got a one-on-one.
Oh, bless you, Jeannie. Bless you.
It's true, but because I was there. But, I think that's the big question, and I think he had a very tough showing in Wisconsin, and I think he does have to answer the question. A neighboring governor, you're in third place in Wisconsin, a place where your message should sell. And so I don't think he's answered that question, even at the town hall when he was asked, what is your path forward? Because when Andrew asked him, a lot of Republicans that we talk to in New York say, I might consider the governor, and yet it does feel a little bit like I'm throwing my vote away, and I shouldn't do that. So I don't think he's quite answered that question yet, although I do think his type of conservatism is a type that may resonate with New Yorkers if they had a chance to listen to him and to hear him, and also if they thought he had a chance of winning, and I think that's what's really harming him at this point.
You would have thought when Jeb Bush left, to a degree Rubio left, whatever moderates there were in the party, or something approaching it, I guess, in this election cycle, he would have been their guys. His problem is there's no sizzle, there's not enough substance, at least to the naked eye.
He's just not resonating, as the professor just said. Popular governor from Ohio, decent message. It's just not connecting, Richard. He's only in, the public can see through all of this. He has absolutely no chance of winning. He's only in this game to hang on, to be an afterthought or secondary thought if it doesn't work out for Trump. The last point is Trump took all, as you point out, took all the oxygen out of the room for all of these guys.
I think all of those points are fair, but I also think the party's moved away from the center a little bit more than perhaps would help Governor Kasich. I think the Republican Party is angrier and more conservative in this cycle than a lot of people gave it credit for. We're seeing something similar on the Democratic side as the party's slowly moving left, which is, I think, why Hillary's having such a hard time getting rid of Bernie Sanders. But I think the Republican Party has moved further to the right and is angrier than a moderate candidate would support, or that would support a moderate candidate.
And I also think, whatever it's worth, after Ohio, I was watching that night to see what he'd say. It was tough to make it through that 30 minutes. And he's talking about his heart and all the rest, but somehow it just,
He does very well in these formats. I thought he was great at the town hall at Iona, Gina. I wonder if you thought the same thing, but it doesn't translate to debates or to speeches.
No, I think you're right. In one-on-one, or in person, I should say, live, he translates. But to Dominic's point, he seems like a politician from a bygone era, like a past era. He doesn't translate on Twitter, right. And as Andrew mentioned, on television. He just seems like, I agree with you, after that it was like a little bit sleepy.
Right.
I mean, and he's a very, very good guy, but it just doesn't translate. And certainly young people don't get excited about him.
Yep. No, this is true. Quick programming note for you. Andrew is going to be covering the New York Republican Annual Gala on Thursday night. In addition to Kasich, Trump and Cruz will also be there. Be very interesting how that comes out. And if you've seen the conversation we've had, Ed Cox, the chairman of the Republican Party, he's all twisted up in knots here as to how the party's going to get behind maybe a Trump, the guy who's going to win this state, looking like going away. Okay, Coming up next, Andrew said Hillary's still having problems with Bernie Sanders. Well, we'll talk to Democrats. Hillary and Bernie are taking things a whole new level. He has gotten some momentum. She's trying to look past him and just run against Republicans. Will that strategy work this time around?